Absolutely. Well, first, I just want to say thank you guys for having me. It doesn't feel like it's been that long since I was in college, but apparently, by the looks of me being able to access Zoom tonight, I guess it's been a little bit longer than I thought. But I just want to say thank you guys for having me. Thank you guys for giving up your time on a Wednesday evening to participate in this. I just want to start out by saying, you're on the right track. If you're here and you're doing this, you care about your future, you care about your career. This is the right step. I'll kind of talk more into the opportunities that you have being here in Indianapolis, and being able to have the access to the networking community that you do here. But I think this is step one: getting involved while you're still in college, while you're still exploring what career opportunities look like for you. You're in the right spot. So with that being said, I think I can go ahead and get started with the presentation. So Lauren, I don't know if you want to go ahead and share the screen. Can I see it?
I have shared. Can
You got it? Okay, perfect. Yep. So just a little bit about me. As it relates to my career in sports, I grew up a Bengals fan. So a lot of people ask me, were you a Colts fan? I think that's a big thing. People working in sports, they, want to work for their hometown team, or they want to work for their favorite team. I grew up a Bengals fan. And so when I was applying to internships in college, I wanted to work for the Bengals. I applied for internships with the Reds. The Colts it was one of those things where I liked the Colts, and I always have liked the Colts, but I grew up closer to Cincinnati and watching Cincinnati news stations, and now working in marketing and events for the Colts. I understand how important it is to be exposed to a brand as a young child, because still, there's still times where I root for the Bengals, as long as it's not against the Colts. So, but I will say that I've gotten to work several playoff games and be a part of several playoff runs as a Colts employee that I wouldn't have had the opportunity to do, because the Bengals have not won a playoff game since the year I was born in 1991. So, moving on to kind of how I got interested in sports, other than just growing up a sports fan, I was a cheerleader at Ball State. So I cheered my freshman and sophomore year at Ball State. And once I was done cheering, I didn't want to leave the athletic department. I loved the idea of being involved, being able to work game days, being able to see the behind the scenes aspect, and being a part of that. And so I remember it was the summer after my freshman year, actually, when I first started getting involved. I walked into the director of marketing and promotions for Ball State Athletics, and I said, listen, I will do whatever you want me to do this summer. I will roll t-shirts. I will drive around and pass out posters. I will, clean storage spaces, whatever you want me to do. And she said, sorry, we already have a summer intern. We don't need you here. And that was that. A month later, school is about to be ending for the semester, and she calls me and she's like, did you mean what you said? Are you sure about that? And yes, sign me up. When do I start? Where and when do I, how do I get this thing going? And so I ended up working that summer, after my freshman year, the summer after my sophomore year, which ultimately allowed me to become a part-time student assistant during the year, during my junior and senior year, once I had stopped cheering. And so that really started my interest in sports, and really allowed me to further develop my skill set, and also to further understand what working in sports looked like. Because, to my next point, I wanted to be a high school teacher. I wanted to be a cheerleading coach. That was my thing. My parents were both high school teachers. And I thought that's what I want to do. But when I started doing some of my student observations, my freshman year, for first semester, excuse me, I realized maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I was too much, too influenced by what I had been around in my environment in high school. But I wanted to make a note that I think I saw where working in events, you're always a part of a team. So Lauren is a part of my, events team when it comes to training camp, game day, lots of other events, just this past weekend at our away game watch party. So working in events, you always get to be a part of a team, or a classroom, like setting where I have the opportunity to be able to teach other people about working in events, about what the Colts goals and objectives are with each different program and event. And so, it's definitely something where I noticed the crossover of why I wanted to be a teacher and how I can still do that to this day in my role as an events manager. Just a little bit about me personally. I am from Southeastern Indiana, but I moved to Broad Ripple right after I graduated from Ball State in 2013. And I've been in Broad Ripple ever since with no intentions to leave. So for those of you who are either local to Indy or you moved here to go to IUPUI, I love Broad Ripple. So if you have any recommendations or if you need recommendations in the Broad Ripple area, please don't hesitate to reach out. And going off of that, I love the city of Indianapolis. I would be lying if I sat here and told you that when I was in your shoes, when I was a senior in college, or at any point in time in college, I should say, that I thought Indianapolis was where I was going to make my home and make my life. But it is truly a phenomenal city for young people, no matter what industry you're in. It's a city where you get to be a part of it. You can actually make an impact. You can make a difference. And obviously you guys, I think it sounds like, from what Lauren tells me and from you guys being here, it sounds like you guys want to do that. And so, it's whether it's working in sports or live events or volunteering or being a part of, events that are seen across the world, like Final Fours and college football playoffs, things like that. Indy, you get to be a part of it, whether you're a sports fan or not. And I think that's really cool and something I really like. So on to the next slide. So just a little bit really about, I kind of went into some of this. So college, I talked to you about my experience working in the marketing and promotions department there. There I was really able to gain so much hands-on experience. I handled all of the marketing promotions for women's field hockey, women's softball, and gymnastics. And then I helped with some of the other major Olympic sports, like football. Football is not an Olympic sport technically, but men's and women's basketball, men's and women's volleyball. So I got to be really hands-on in everything from creating the PA script to picking out the music to deciding what promotions we were going to do to how we were going to market on social media. So, I really credit Ball State Athletics and the resources that my supervisors gave me back then to the skill set that I have now, because I was able to really jump right in and work alongside them, to see how things worked, and what was effective and also, if not more importantly, what was ineffective, when it came to marketing to students. And then, a big part of my job is game day. And these large events where a lot of people are gathering, they're excited. It's all part of one big event. And so I really got to be a part of that, in college, starting with Ball State Athletics. My first official internship outside of Ball State Athletics was with the Colts. So I was, the summer before my senior year, I was a summer intern. That's back when the Colts did summer tours. I don't know if any of you are from Indiana, but you may have had a summer tour stop come through your town at some point in time. I think when I was an intern, we did about 15 stops where it was, 12 to 15 interns out on the road, and we took Colts in motion, and we had a band, and we had players. And really it's bringing the Colts to cities outside of Indianapolis. So it was a really cool experience to be a part of. And I won't lie and tell you that it was hard work. It was early mornings, late nights. It was 110 degrees outside. It was lifting heavy objects. But it really made me know, if this is what I'm going to do, like, do I like this? Is this exciting to me? And the payoff of seeing all the fans be so excited to have something to do with a company that you work for, just whether it's getting a poster, or meeting a player that people are in tears over. That's really cool to get to be a part of that. And so being, we always say, do the little things, and little things will add up to big things. And I think I really started that during my internship is understanding, that the little things are critical to the success of a big program. And so, we really value that with our interns right now is making sure that everyone understands the emphasis that's placed on doing the little things and doing them well. And then also, it's a big part of my internship. Once the summer internship was over, I stayed on and volunteered to help out with game days. So since my internship, the program has evolved where we have a full game day staff. But back when I was an intern, I was really just kind of shadowing my current boss, Joe Fonderoli, our senior director of events and operations. And basically, Joe said, jump. And I said, how high? Whatever needed to be done, that's what I was there to do. And it was really cool because I got so much, really cool experience. I'll never forget my first game day working as an intern. So this is the 2012 season. And our senior director of marketing said at the time, he was like, are you scared of heights, Chelsea? And, no, I'm fine. Not really knowing at all what they had in mind. And I was assigned to go up to the catwalks of Lucas Oil Stadium and be a part of the group that cued the banner drop. If next time you're at the stadium, you'll have to look, there's a banner that recognizes Indianapolis as the 2012 host city for the Super Bowl. And so, I was the one cueing the stagehands who were dropping in. And it was a very, very cool moment. And something, I don't think I ever thought, oh, well, I wonder who does that on game days. And so knowing that, everywhere where there is something happening, there is someone behind the scenes executing that or making sure it gets done. Nothing just happens on game day or for any event for that matter. And so after my internship, I finished my senior year. I was going back to, I was going to plan to go back to the Colts to do a summer season internship. That's really our internship opportunity for post-grad students. And it's the best way to get, fully immersed in what it's like to work for a professional sports team. So that's maybe later on in this presentation, but definitely something that I would recommend to everyone on the call if you are interested in working in sports. The summer season internship is a full-time job, basically, and you get so much great experience. And so I was planning to come back and do that for the 2013 season, and timing and the universe lined up for me. And there was an entry-level job open as I was graduating. So I was able to interview and get that job. I worked 2 days a week for the last 2 months of my senior year of college, driving from Muncie to Indy to work at the Colts complex. And then I graduated on Saturday. I moved to Indy on a Sunday, and I started with the Colts on Monday and have, really kind of just been running ever since then. So that was when I started as the marketing assistant. And then we shifted, our structure a little bit. So we now have a more defined events department, whereas really before that, we just kind of fell within marketing. And I think events is a very specific part of what we do. It's the goals and objectives are very specific, and it does include a lot of grassroots marketing. I think that's something that sets the Colts apart from a lot of other NFL teams. While obviously we do a lot of digital campaigns that you'll see, whether it's, on social media or whether it's in local TV buys. We still focus on what is really important, and that's our fans and getting in front of them and connecting with them. And so as part of my events coordinator role, I really took a major role in helping to plan, promote, and execute Touchdown Town, our pregame fan area, as well as our internship program, whether it's reviewing resumes, coordinating the interviews, and then making final selections. And then I was the events manager, where again, I was kind of given some more responsibilities and helping to plan the Colts 5K, the kickoff concert, and taking a more active role in game day entertainment planning. And I am currently the senior events manager. And so among the other things listed above that, training camp is one of my main responsibilities. And then as well as some of the marketing partnerships. This is something new in the last few years that I've gotten to work on. So we work closely with Indy Hub. We work closely with Downtown Indy to develop some relationships with new residents. So getting to be a part of that and see how events fits into those marketing partnerships has been something that's been really exciting for me, something that's different, something that's a little outside of what you might picture as a standard events manager role. So that is my career journey. It is ongoing. When people ask what I do for the Colts, I often tell them I just help run the circus. So that's one of my favorite parts of my job, is that it is something different every day. And it's everything. It's everything and anything. And so it keeps me on my toes. It's challenging at times for sure. But it is definitely something that I'm thankful to get to be a part of. Go to the next slide. Sorry, I'm pulling it up here so you can see it as well. As I was saying, as the senior events manager with the, running the circus, wears many hats. So I would, as you guys are going throughout your careers, I want to think of the best way to say this. Be picky, be selective about what you want to do and what interests you, but also be willing to learn outside of your immediate role and immediate function. Be willing to volunteer and help out in other departments within your organization. Or, for now, it could be applicable to your sorority. Maybe you're a part of the marketing committee, but the finance, your treasurer needs some help in making sure that invoices are paid and accounts line up, and getting that experience, right then and there. You're learning how to manage a budget. And that's something that's applicable to every industry, every position. And it's something that you can then talk about. A lot of the things that, you put on your resume and get experience is great. Your resume is what we see that makes us say, we want to know more about that person. But you've got to be able to talk about it. You've got to be able to explain and apply your experiences to what it is, the job that you're applying for. Like I said, I mentioned some of the major responsibilities that I oversee and am a part of, working as the senior events manager. I will say this, there's a lot of stuff that I still do that I did the day I started. I think I work maybe even harder now than I did when I was a recent grad. It is definitely a grind, and it's something where you have to be committed to working in sports. But I also think, generally speaking, no matter what industry you're in, it is one of those things where working hard is one thing, and working smarter is another. So I am always an advocate for work smarter, not harder. That is maybe not something that I applied as best as I could early on in my career. And I think really working smarter, not harder. The biggest part in being successful in that is understanding processes and building relationships with the people around you. That is one of my favorite parts of my job, is that I get to do all these different programs and events, and I interact with so many different people in our building, in the city of Indy, with different partners. And so I am, able to learn how different departments work and how do they work well? What can they offer to our event? What are we going to have to do for them? So I think that's one thing I would recommend to all of you as you're starting your careers or in your internships. Take the time to really fully understand what makes the organization tick. And that's not necessarily, going to the vice president of sales and saying, what do you do to make your job successful? I often say that the world needs more doers. And so go to the doers in your organization. Who is busy, who's doing a lot of work, who do people go to when they have a question? Go to those people and find out, get their secrets, get their life hacks, get their career advice. Because those are the people who, they juggle a lot of things, but they've also figured out how to do it and do it to a point where it's efficient and effective for the organization. So, having a long list of responsibilities is great. but only if you can have that long list of responsibilities and you can, manage the expectations to be able to execute those programs really well. So that's something that for me is a work in progress. I'm lucky that I have a really good team around me to be able to do all the things that we do. I definitely couldn't do it without any of them. And so, I am surrounded by doers, and I cannot explain how appreciative I am of that. So that would, I guess, be another piece of advice as you go out into your careers. Be a doer because it will go a long way. Next slide. Sorry. These are just some pieces of advice that I had for you, and take it or leave it. I have by no means I don't have everything figured out. I'm still very much a work in progress and still developing my skill set. But I think, that's one thing that I would say is that it's never too late to keep, learning new things. I think that's the biggest thing, that I see about my job is that it is so different from when I started. And that if I weren't able to learn new things and adapt and have people around me that helped me to learn those new things, I wouldn't be able to be successful. I wouldn't be able to get things done. I wouldn't be able to be trusted with bigger responsibilities. So, keep learning, keep evolving. And going off of that, I always say this: no experience is bad experience. Don't turn down an opportunity just because it's not what you had in mind. It's not your dream job. It's not your dream, work responsibility, whatever it is, because you never know who you're going to meet. And sometimes smaller platforms allow for you to shine. It's kind of the one fish in a big sea, or big fish in a small pond, however the saying goes. I think I said that wrong, but you guys get what I'm saying. Get out of your comfort zone. Say, if you're a finance major and you've only, worked in accounting and Excel spreadsheets, offer to volunteer at an event at your, place of work or your internship. Get to know people outside of your immediate department, because again, like I said, it benefits you so much to build relationships and to understand how organizations and companies work. That will go much longer than only focusing. I want to do events. I'm only going to do events. I want to know, what table linens to use and who's the best vendor for floral and who's the best DJ in town. Those are all great things to know. They help you do your job well, but you guys are lucky enough right now where now's the time to be a sponge, soak it all up, do internships in different departments, different areas of expertise. There is no experience that's a bad experience, because even if it's something you hate, let's say you do an events internship and you're like, absolutely not. I never want to lift another table. I never want to move another chair as long as I live. Now you know. And you wouldn't have known that if you wouldn't have taken that role or volunteered or done that internship. So I think it's, again, to the second bullet point, finding out what you don't like is just as important as finding out what you do like. And I know it's easy to be picky and say, this is what I want to do. This is my dream job. But give it a chance, give other things a chance, and don't be frustrated or disappointed if it doesn't work out, because at least you tried it. And that's, a step further than most people get. So I think from doing those things, you'll find your niche and you'll do it really well. You'll be able to gain a skill set to allow you to do that really well. I always say the 3 phases of my job is really planning, promoting, and executing events. But one of the areas where I think I have been able to evolve is the promotional side of things. And so I've gotten to work really closely with our vice president of marketing to develop different marketing campaigns and handling a lot of the promotional aspects for a lot of our signature events, which is not typically a part of the events manager role. That's typically more of an operational person. But in our organization, how we're structured, I do get to do a lot of the marketing components. And that's because I tried it, because I put my foot out there and I said, I want to learn, what it looks like to run a paid social media campaign. I want to meet with visit Hamilton County because I want to understand what their marketing capabilities are and how can we work with them to promote training camp. And so once you've tried everything, you can hone in on what you're good at and what you like, really, what sets the job apart for you, and you can focus on those aspects. But it's important to kind of try everything first, in my opinion, at least. I mentioned this earlier, doing the little things. Everyone wants to shine. Everyone wants some gratification. I am just as guilty of that. I don't even know if I should say guilty of that. I feel that everyone deserves to be recognized for the hard work that they do. But it doesn't always happen. And a lot of the times, especially in events, if, people only notice when something doesn't go as according to plan. So when everything goes according to plan, it's like, great, thanks for showing up today. You did your job. But understanding that as you start out, there's going to be times where you're frustrated, where you're going to say, but I did that. That was my idea. Keep pushing. It's not necessarily always fun. And sometimes it can hurt and be very frustrating and disappointing. But just know that by keep pushing and keep doing what you're doing, keep working hard. Don't let it feel like people don't notice, because they do. It may just take them a while to come around to that. And that's something that someone told me when I was in your guys' shoes, because working in sports can be a very thankless job. It's not glamorous most of the time, for that matter. And so knowing that going in has been helpful to me in my career, and being able to, understand that, why I do my job. It varies from day to day, but I do my job because I get to work for a really awesome organization with a really awesome platform where I can make an impact on people from all different, from all across the world, really, and that's why I do my job. I don't do it for the credit. And so again, once you find a job that you love, and that you get to work really hard in, and you get to see those results, you'll feel that too, and you won't need all of the credit in the world. And I think, going off of that, be ready when something is asked of you. That goes into when you're doing your internship. Act like a sponge and soak up as much as you can. Talk to people, build relationships, network. Networking is not, in my opinion, it's not passing out business cards, and it's not saying, hi, I'm Chelsea and I'm looking for a job. Networking is, hey, Lauren, what do you do? What does a day look like in your shoes? I saw that you are in charge of the Books for Youth program, and I volunteered with kids in schools before, and I'm really interested to know what this program is more about. How have you seen it grow? You guys get what I'm saying here. Build relationships with people based on, what they do. Everyone likes to talk about themselves. Look at me. I've been going for 30 minutes now, and you guys haven't had any questions. I hope you guys feel comfortable interrupting me. But, talk to people, get to know them, because that's when they will come to you and they will say, Lauren, thank you so much for talking with me the other day. You said you were interested in helping with community programs, right? Well, we've got an event that we need help with. So are you available to help with that? People are going to remember those things. You're going to build relationships. If people don't know that you're interested in things, they're not going to think of you when those opportunities come up. So keep that in mind as you're quote unquote networking within your internships, within, your professors right now. I will say, I don't think I did a very good job when I was in school of networking with my professors and understanding their connections. It wasn't until I graduated that I understood the power of their connections and how far they can reach. So that's definitely something I would take the opportunity to do now while you can. And then these are some things that I've learned, and that I feel like I can say now, given 9 seasons of working for the Colts and being in a professional atmosphere. You are your own best advocate. I think we've seen after a year of COVID, and you all have obviously, your college experience is totally different than anyone else's, and internship experiences, and you guys definitely have a very unique perspective. And I think, what does the work life look like for you, as you graduate and as you go out into the world and finding entry level careers and internships. Just always be your own advocate, because if you don't, you can't expect other people to do it for you. And I think it's really great that you guys are a part of this. And I love seeing, lots of young women being a part of these clubs and wanting to better themselves and wanting to, go out and, I kick ass. Am I allowed to say that on here? Go out and do that, because it is working in sports is historically, people are, they think it's a male driven industry. And it is, but I work with some awesome women. Our vice president of marketing is a female, our director of community relations, our director of partnership marketing, our vice president of finance. We have, three female owners of a team, and that's really uncommon in the NFL. And so I think you guys that's obviously very specific to sports, and obviously we've got a lot of coverage to make up for in business in general when it comes to having women represented in leadership roles, but you guys are definitely on the right start there. And I think just some other tidbits that I can say now that maybe I could have done a better job of, but being a part of your community, understand what is needed in your community, what are the needs, what can you help with. I mentioned our partnership with Indie Hub earlier in the presentation. We work so closely with Indie Hub, and I think they are one of the greatest organizations in the city when it comes to providing people with opportunities to get involved and understand, how to give back to the city, because I think being a part of your city involves both work and play. So volunteering to help out with, whether that's food insecurities or, clean, keep Indianapolis beautiful and the cleanliness of the city, the overall presentation of it, all of those things are very important to be able to play, to be able to host a Final Four, to be able to bring college football playoff to the city of Indianapolis. We have to work in order to receive. And so I think those are where you can be a part of that in Indianapolis or whatever city it is that you end up in. Just know that the more connected you are to your city, the more connected you'll feel to your job. And it ultimately, I think, will give you a little bit more purpose and a little bit more passion. No one wakes up every day and says, I cannot wait to go to work today. This is all I want to do is work, work, work. No one wants to do that. You've got to have some connections outside of your screen or whatever it is that you do for work. And you've got to be able to balance that outside of work and still make time for yourself, and maintain your connections. Like I mentioned, I don't think I did a very good job of connecting with my professors in college. I wasn't on my priority list. And I regret that. And so that's something I would tell you guys is close. I am using Lauren a lot as an example right now, but I hope that she will feel comfortable in keeping me close as a connection beyond her internship. I don't want to speak for all internship supervisors out there in the world, but when we have really good interns, we want to know what they're up to. Maybe they can't get a job working for us right away, but we want to keep tabs on them, because if something does open up down the road, we want to know, actually, I remember her. She was from a few seasons ago. She did a really good job for us. We should give her a call and see if she's interested. So maintain those connections. They get harder and harder to do the further you get into your career. And so if you do it as you start in your internships, and your professors and your classes and your clubs, things are going to be a lot easier for you as you go throughout your career journey, to maintain those connections. So again, take it or leave it. This advice is not scientific probably, but I've found it to be helpful for me. Over the years, I definitely have had some ups and downs and have learned along the way what to do and more importantly, what not to do. And I'm still learning, still continually evolving, still understanding, what is the best way to be the best worker that I can be for myself, and for my organization as well. So I feel like I've been talking a ton. I'm winded, and to answer any questions that you guys have. Even if it's totally unrelated to anything I've mentioned, I'm all yours. So please feel free to ask any questions. Anything?
I can go. I always dominate the conversation first. You had talked about being the first job that you want to do was being a teacher because you had parents that were both teachers. Do you find now that like teaching and mentoring, especially with our internship program, is super important to you? And like, how do you foster that within our program?
Yes. Great question. That's one of my favorite parts of the job is the internship program, because I mean, we couldn't do anything that we do without our interns. And it's hard. It's not always a very fun internship. There are fun parts, but there are lots of times where I'm sure it feels like, what did I sign up for? This sucks. And so being able to foster those relationships and get to know our interns on a more personal level and understand like their interests and why did you want to do this internship? Do you really want to work in sports, or was this just something where you're like, I'm a big Colts fan, I want to do this? And so I think for me, I take the approach of being really hands-on. I'm as hands-on as I can be, where I am working alongside our interns, and instead of just directing orders and saying, do this, I need this to be done. I want to be there in the action, helping to set up for, different events or whatever. Today, for example, 3 of our summer season interns, we had to roll and attach parachutes to 1,700 t-shirts that will be dropped from the turn to go in and do their 2-hour shift. And I was so impressed with how our interns, it provided instruction and how they made sure everything stayed on pace and kept things organized. And to me, that's like the ultimate sign of, wow, they're listening, they're paying attention, because we are showing them, we're working alongside them earlier on in their internship to say, this is how you keep people on task. This is how you stay organized. It's important to manage inventory so things aren't a mess when you get to the end of the project. And so for me, that's really, I wish that maybe there was more of a formal mentorship program, maybe within the Colts internship program. I think, unfortunately, we are working a million miles a minute, and we don't necessarily have the time to build time into having, a mentorship program where there's scheduled weekly check-ins or something like that. But what I would say to that is it's an open door policy organization where everyone is willing to help out. And most people started as interns. Not just directing or providing instructions, but really getting in the weeds with our interns is something that allows me to get to know them, to be able to help them to understand what they're good at, what they need help with, and how I can, be a resource to them further on in their careers.
I guess I just have a question about like volunteer opportunities. Do you know if there are any coming up? Because I know I like to do like the Indiana Sports Corps ones when I can, but I didn't know if there were specific ones for like the Colts.
Yeah, that's a great question. We don't have a current volunteer sign up program. It's definitely something that's been discussed, something that I think we all see the value in. It's hard because we work with a lot of partners on different events that require volunteer opportunities. So a lot of times, for example, the playground build that we do, all of our partners on that event provide the volunteers for that program. So, with that being said, I know there's projects in the works specifically as it relates to IUPUI with getting involved on our game day ticketing staff and helping with guest services. We obviously, it's more of an internship program, but definitely encourage people to apply our 50/50 program. So some of those other avenues where maybe they're a little bit more specific, like a 50/50 game day seller. I know we are looking for assistance for an event this weekend. And so we're going to our 50/50 workers to say, is anyone available to work this event? And so getting your foot in the door in one area can sometimes open up other opportunities in other departments within the organization. For example, our summer season cheer intern this year, she last year worked game day guest services. So she did something totally different than what she's doing now as a summer season intern, but she had the reference, she had the connection from working on game days and guest services last year to get in front of our cheerleading director, who, ultimately said, this is it. She's the candidate for us. So those are a couple, real life examples of, again, you may have to get out of your comfort zone. It may not be something that you're like, I want to do this for the rest of my life, but can I manage doing this for a season? Can I learn something from this? Can I get something out of it? With that being said, I will also add, internships will go live usually in late January, early February. So you can go to Colts.com, and at the bottom of the page, there is a tab for employment/internship. So I would encourage everyone that's on this phone call to apply. And obviously, Lauren, feel free to share my contact information, and I'd be happy to answer any specific questions if you have one-offs throughout the year.
Wanted to ask you a little bit about, so you had touched on one of your kind of like, not necessarily regrets, but like things you wish you would have done in school was connecting with your professors better. What do you think would be like another thing that you would go back and tell your college self, and something you could tell us that you think would be like the most important thing you'd want to go back and maybe change?
Personally, I wish I would have studied abroad. So just if anyone is on the fence about studying abroad, I have deep regrets about not doing that. Now, that's also to say that because I didn't study abroad, I had the time to work for the Colts for the summer and work in Ball State athletics. So it was a little bit of a trade-off. I would say probably one of my regrets, and maybe this goes along with not connecting with my professors, is that I was a little timid. I was a little shy about asking for help. And that's what, your advisors and people that are in the industries that you guys want to go in, that's what we're here for. We've all been in your shoes. And so we know what it's like when you want to get a job, when you want to meet with someone. And most people, I would say, I want to, let's say 7 out of 10, times when you send someone a LinkedIn message, we want to be able to respond to you, and we want to be able to help you out. So I think not being afraid to speak up and try to make connections. But I also will say that, I'm not as apt to respond to a cold message on LinkedIn from someone that I don't know, versus I was on the panel that you were a part of on Zoom last night. I had actually some more questions about this. I'm wondering if you had time for a quick call or to meet for coffee. That's, I understand then there's more of a connection there than just, for lack of a better term, a cold call. So I would say being more proactive and trying to create and foster those relationships and create connections is something that I do wish that I would have done more in college. I was fortunate where my internship in college and my part-time job working in the athletic department, I got to do a little bit of everything. And so I was really lucky there. But I would say if you were, doing one thing in the same task day in and day out, I would recommend finding an alternative opportunity or something else where you can create varied experiences. I think that's important to what I see on internship resumes, are interns that have, several different types of experiences, whether it's in, finance or marketing, or data, digital, social, things like that, where you're kind of all across the board, is definitely something I see that's appealing to me. when I'm looking at resumes, and something that I feel like I got a good amount of experience in when I was in college. But I would also add, you can never have enough experiences and enough varied experiences. So keep going, keep doing different things, and again, you'll find what you're really good at and what you want to focus on in your career.
Anyone have any more questions? And if you
I
guys,
have a question for you guys. Has anyone been to Touchdown Town prior to a Colts game day? No. Oh, well, we have to get you guys there. We'll be giving away tickets in the next few Touchdown Towns. Pay attention to Colts events. Definitely something that if you're living in the city of Indianapolis, something to do on Sundays. It's free prior to game days. And again, it's one of those things that I love about the city is that there are lots of free events and free opportunities. It's a fun way to engage with the team, even if you're not a Colts fan. It's live music, it's cheap drinks, food trucks. You can't beat it.
and like always, if you guys do have a question that comes up later and you want to ask Chelsea, you can go ahead and send it my way. I will get her contact information out to you. Before we let Chelsea hop off the call, I did want to remind everyone tomorrow in the campus center is when we'll be passing out crew necks. If you ordered one, it'll be at 1 p.m. I'll be on the first floor with Chloe, who is the girl that we worked with for University Tees. We'll be passing those out, as well as the social we're having on the 15th. We are going to be starting at Babies, which is a like kind of burger restaurant, little like themed. And then we'll be driving over to Funky Bones and doing painting and hanging out at the park there. So if you guys have access to the Google Docs, make sure you fill that out. That way we can set up carpooling. So things to keep on your radar. But we just want to thank Chelsea for coming today. We really appreciate your time and really appreciate you having some advice and sharing with us your story. We will ask that you stay on for a few minutes so Shay and Nicole and I can talk to you about something. But if no one else has any questions, then you're free for the rest of the day.
Thank you guys so much for joining and for having me. This was fun. I really enjoyed my time. So thank you guys.